Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to week 4 of our FFTV Premier League weekend review with football friend Gooner Ant. Hello, Ant.
Yeah, not so fucking much football friend this week.
Guys, give me your comments on the thumbnail. I'm sure you've all seen it. Am I right? Am I right? He's been. I've had a few comments about how you seem to be talking about Arsenal a lot more than you're talking about Forest, but there is reasons for it. So I have kind of tried to back you up and saying we're not allowed to talk about Forest too much on this particular show. But I have put it in the link of a description, our latest Gore episode, guys. So you got our take on Forest's performance in the beating of Chelsea over the weekend. And is that a good place to start? Do you want to go there first, and then we can basically move on to the more important games from your point of view? Do you want to do that? What did you think of? Let's go with Chelsea. We know our opinions on obviously how Forest played, but how were Chelsea on Saturday? Were they still be shooting now, wouldn't they? Be shooting blanks now, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before that I'm not taking anything away from Forest's performance, which is absolutely brilliant, but Chelsea weren't good. I mean, for the amount of money they spent, which is, I don't always judge it on money spent because you can waste money as well, but the quality of players they've got, and they are quality players, they just don't seem to be showing it at the moment. We know Caicedo is a great player, but he's looking dreadful at the moment. Nicholas Jackson, I'm not so sure about. All the Chelsea fans were really hyping me up before the season because of the pre-season games he played. But I always said, well, let's see what he does in the Premier League. The Premier League's a different matter. And at the moment, he looks... Yeah, go on.
No, I was saying, and he looked good because he was playing with Nkunku as well. I think they worked well together, but he certainly gets himself into positions, but he's not a finisher, is he? And that's if you're spending over $1 billion, the criticism that I've heard mostly from Chelsea fans themselves is we spent that much money. You could have bought Kylian Mbappe for 250 million. You could have bought Harry Kane,
or even an Osimhen. You don't have to go Kylian Mbappe. You can go Osimhen. You know what I mean? 150 million. Yeah,
go for what? We haven't bought any real world-class players in, have they, at all, for that money? For amount of money,
it's all potential, isn't it? It's all potential. That I've heard that they had an order saying you're not allowed to buy any players over 25 because they want to make money in the future, obviously. And also they want to be able to spread payments over 7 years. Well, not payments, but contracts over 7 years. Well, obviously you don't want to do that with a 28-year-old. Do you know what I mean? But so they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Also, why has Pochettino gone to a back five? He's never played a back five in his life.
That was going to be my next question. What's Pochettino playing at? Because as much as you can criticize Boehly for spending random money on random players, he's not playing the way that any one of us would have expected. Certainly not the way they were even playing in that pre-season tournament.
That's right. That's right. They weren't playing with the back five in the pre-season games. I mean, I have seen quite a few Chelsea podcasts that were kind of not sure about bringing Pochettino in because obviously Tottenham, no trophies or anything, so they weren't sure about him. And then he came in and he said all the right things, and they all got excited. And already I can see we're starting to say, "Well, was it just words? Is he that?" They're already questioning him after 4 games.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Yeah, it's bizarre after 4 games, but they haven't had the start that they want. Their home record is really, really poor. And we've kind of taken advantage of that over the last 2 games at Stamford Bridge. But Forest played well. Let's give us just a couple of minutes on our performance. I thought, from a defensive point of view, from sticking to the game plan point of view, I think that was as good a performance from Forest that I've seen in terms of a professionalism and making sure that they saw the game out as well. They had potentially could have made it 2-0 at the death, couldn't they? They had a couple of good opportunities, but to say that they defended as well as they did, really restricted Chelsea to only 2 they had over 20 shots, but only 2 of them on target. So
shots are always you got to look at when it says shots, because some of them are never going to be a goal. You know what I mean? Shots from 20 yards out with 2 players in front of them that are blocked. You know what I mean? They're not like shots on target. Shots on target, I think, is the true guide of how successful a team's been in an attacking sense.
Absolutely, because I'm going to go on to that because there's a couple of statements or comments that I've heard recently, and I want to just get your opinion on it as well. Whether people should be looking at the stats of a game or the eye test on basically how you think it's looking, because we've had this conversation before, haven't we? When we've been at a game and our perception of how a player's played has been totally different to somebody watching it on the TV, for example. But it's something we'll get into because I think there's a couple of points to make from the Arsenal Man U game where that's probably quite relevant, that conversation. But yeah, Chelsea Chelsea could still be out there now and it still wouldn't score. They couldn't hit the back of the net. I think some of their players need to be put back in their positions. Chilwell's being played as a left winger, which in the pre-season tournament actually looked really good, but it certainly hasn't worked since the start of the season. He's not really created too much, and there's call for Maatsen to be placed in that left back position instead of him. What would you think to that? Would you drop Chilwell after his performances?
Well, Chilwell is a superb player, but it's not well, they were virtually using him as a winger, because they had all that possession, etc. They were using him as a winger, and he's not a winger. And I did think to myself, I was just thinking now, who are Chelsea's goal scorers? It's all right having all these players on the pitch that are worth a lot of money that play, in their positions very well, but who exactly is supposed to score the goals? Just Nicholas Jackson? Is he the only one that's supposed to? Sterling might get you a few. Who else is meant to score the goals?
Exactly. You spend all that money and you haven't bought a goal scorer. Yeah. Yes, they had a
Chilwell can't score. Mudryk can't score. No. He's played 20 games now, I think, and not got a goal yet.
Hasn't got a goal yet, has he? Really flattered to deceive. And I'd like to see how this pans out for him because they've got no European football this season. He's got every opportunity to really get a good league position. But from an outsider looking in, and I really don't care what Chelsea do, but from Pochettino's point of view, he's got to get back to how he was playing beforehand because there's no way that this new system that he's trying out is working. Maybe he's trying to fit too many round pegs in square holes and just to keep players happy, but it's not working for them, is it?
It never works. We know that it never works. I'd rather have an average left back playing left back than a superstar centre half playing at left back, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I like round pegs in round holes.
Don't we all? Let's move on to. I'm going to move on to the next one of the games on Saturday. And possibly, we won't spend too much time on this one, but possibly between two relegation hopefuls, Sheffield United and Everton. It finished 2-2. Did you catch much of it? And have you got any opinion on the new strikers that have started for both teams? Because Sheffield United made a signing. Beto was signed for Everton. He looked good in the League Cup. I think he actually looked good on Saturday as well. Opinions on their new signings and whether these guys actually have got any chance of staying up this season?
Well, it's quite funny because I watched the whole game live and I sort of did it out of duty, if you like, but I really enjoyed it. You know what it was like? It was like an old-fashioned FA Cup tie between two third division sides. There was no quality on show. It was end to end. That's what made it exciting. You know what I mean? And yeah, it could have been anything. It could have been that game could have been because they were so poor. They both go. Well, I would say that they're both in massive danger of going down. Everton have got so few quality players. Beto, yeah, I need to see more of him. He looks awkward. Yeah, yes. But he's a beast, isn't he? But I need to see him over a longer period of time because he's playing against a very, very poor defense. And it was basically what I saw was basically brute strength. I didn't see a lot of technique there. So, I'll hold fire on that one a little bit.
What about Cameron Archer's debut?
I don't think we're going to do very well.
What about Cameron Archer's debut for Sheffield United? He looked really sharp, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Personally, I prefer Archer to Beto on first view. I must state that because he's a little bit quicker, nimbler. I prefer that than a big long. Can you remember that Everton? Who was that Everton? I think he was a striker. It was massive. I don't know what's happened to him. Can you remember? He came on last season. Huge guy.
They bought a couple. I I can't think of a name, but I do know who you're on about.
I think he's an African guy. I think.
And I never really saw any game time at all. And considering
no, but he looked scary when he came on. But it was, I think he's about 6'7" or something, and built really well.
Yeah, didn't he come on? Didn't he come on against Forest at City Ground? Or
I think he did, because I think when you're standing there, you think, "Oh my god!"
Yeah. I think that's all I remember from him last season. To be honest, he clearly made no impact. But Beto does look exciting. He looks more of a hold up play. I think he's one of those that if he can get their main man back, Calvert-Lewin back, and it could be interesting to see them play together as a front two. And we know how old-fashioned he is playing a 4-4-2, so it potentially could happen. But I still don't see
it happening.
Yeah, you can see it happening, but I don't see either of these two teams having enough to keep.
Calvert-Lewin just can't keep fit, and
major problem.
He's not the best striker in the world anyway. I'm not a big fan, to be honest. I mean, he had a good little purple period about 2 years ago, but he's been injured since.
Yeah, and that was under what was his name? The Italian manager they had. He's Madrid's manager. My head's gone blank now.
You know what? I can't think.
Yeah, exactly. Forget it. We'll skip on. But we'll go back to it. The two potential relegation favourites. I can't see that changing at all. Man City. Let's have a look at Man City's result on Saturday. Again, on paper, if you look at the scoreline, it looked like an easy game, but that's not how it panned out.
Got to hold my hand up here. I didn't see this game.
Okay, so in this one,
but I know Haaland scored another hat trick.
He did, but it wasn't as straightforward as that. So Fulham took the lead, and then the equaliser came. I think it was Akanji's equaliser that was the one that was up for debate. So basically, it should have been called as an offside. There's no doubt the defender in front of a goalkeeper.
I think even Haaland said that, didn't he? Even Haaland afterwards.
I've not heard it.
If that goal had been given against them. So
exactly, there's no way he wasn't interfering with play. And I think, in fact, I think I took them to 2-1. So yeah, they could have gone in 1-1 at half time, but the manager was absolutely fuming, and rightly so, because there's the striker even tried to kick the ball, so there's no way it wasn't affecting the goalkeeper's side. He was in an offside position. He tried to make a play for the ball. It definitely affected the goalkeeper in his decision making. Another one where there was a little bit of big six bias, because the other way around, as Haaland said himself, it probably wouldn't have been given. These big decisions, is it about time we got it? Something's really done about it, because it seems to be every single week there's one decision or another that in pivotal moments in the game makes a massive difference, and it always seems to be going against the teams outside the big six. Is this an issue, and is this something that we need to really pay attention to a lot more?
Yeah, it's a massive issue. I mean, I'll be absolutely honest with you, every game I go to as a fan now, I'm thinking, I hope this game's not decided by a dodgy decision, because I'm expecting dodgy decisions. You know what I mean? And everybody knows it. And we go back to it. It's not the referees. The referees can be good or crap. That shouldn't matter. You've got VAR for that. It's VAR that's the issue, not the referees, in my opinion.
That's a manager I was reaching for. Yeah, Ancelotti. Yeah, Ancelotti taught him to be a first-time finisher. Like Filippo Inzaghi used him as the example, and said to him, whenever you can, hit it as early as you can, because keep the goalkeeper out. I mean, a good example of that, in fact, was just going back briefly to it, Elanga's goal on Saturday, because he took it early while Ramirez was still setting himself. It wasn't a hard shot. He didn't need to hit it hard. He just hit it at the right time while the goalkeeper was still setting himself. So I think, that was one of the things that Calvert-Lewin learned from Ancelotti for sure.
Isn't that something that a striker should learn from the age of about 8? I mean,
there's a lot of
world-class manager to teach you that.
You think so, but you know what? It's all about guidance throughout your career, isn't it? And some managers have a way. Some managers just have a way with players, and Ancelotti's record speaks for itself anyway. Wherever he goes in the world, he's always going to be one of the best managers around. So that game basically could have turned on. I'm not saying it would have changed the result of the game, whether that goal was given for Man City or not. But it does frustrate the hell out of managers, and what it makes you think is that you got to fight an extra level, because you're always playing against the best team, and you're up against VAR and referees as well. You know, we've had it already a couple of times this season. There's no doubt about it that we've well, in our opinion anyway, that if it was the other way around, it wouldn't have gone in our favor. So yeah, I mean, don't want to go too much into VAR and referees. We gave them all a Wanker of a Week award last week, and they fully deserved it. Oh, just talking on the Wanker of a Week, I've put it the poll up. Your nominees this week are TEN Haag. Remind me, TEN Haag, Todd Boehly, and I've gone with Jadon Sancho as well. And I want to have a quick chat about Jadon Sancho just before we go into that. But we'll go on with our review.
Can I just say something about Fulham? Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that Paulinho didn't get his move to Bayern Munich, because without him, Fulham would be down there with the rest of them.
Where's his head going to be now after that? Because that is hard.
Yeah, I mean, he must be devastated. Fulham or Bayern Munich, he must be devastated.
I mean, Bayern have tried to reassure him and said they'll come back for him in January, but
have they?
Yes, yeah. So they said that because it wasn't them that pulled out; it was Fulham that pulled the deal.
They missed out on a player, didn't they? That we're trying to get.
So they didn't get their domino in effect, and they pulled the deal while the play was over there and already. In fact, I think he'd already posed in a Bayern shirt, from what I heard. So I mean, the job for them now is to basically keep his head straight until January, because he is a vital. Like you've just said, he's a vital player. They've already lost Mitrovic. They can't afford to have him not firing on all cylinders. He's such a key player. I'm still surprised that once the Bayern deal fell through, that no other Premier League team tried to snap him. I know he's
really late, wasn't it? It was really late.
No, it wasn't that late in the window when in the day when it was actually pulled. But he was over in Germany.
I thought it was last minute jobby.
No, sorry, that's a good point by Martin. Yeah, the German window closes at 5 p.m. So it was all done and supposed to be done and dusted by then. And then, like I say, Fulham pulled the plug on the deal. Like I say, he's got to get his head right. His manager's got to try and get the best out of him. I don't worry for them, because I don't care about what happens to Fulham, but I can definitely see them struggling this season because they haven't got enough players around him. If he's not firing, if he's not pulling the strings in that midfield, then I think they're in big trouble. But that's I think go back to the scoreline. I think it did flatter Man City a little bit, but I did like the partnership with Alvarez and Haaland. I thought that's the first time they've actually worked together in the Premier League. They look really, really solid. Haaland's just an absolute machine. Took his goals with absolute ease, but it was. I think the scoreline flattered him is my main point from that game.
Yeah, the thing is, when you've got Haaland, you're always got a chance of winning no matter what the situation is, haven't you? The guy is, as you say, a machine. I love watching him play because I was watching him the other day, specifically keeping my eyes on him, and he's just always back and forth, going to making runs, but he walks around a lot because he just doesn't waste his energy. Who cares if he only has 7 touches in a match if 3 of them are goals? You know what I mean? They go on about, he only has these many touches. So what? You know what I mean? He got 50 goals last season. What? Who cares?
Another big. I mean, there was a lot of goals in the Premier League this weekend. Only a couple of games didn't have both teams scoring. One was ours, and one was the Liverpool Villa game. But there's a hell of a lot of goals. Another high-scoring game was the Spurs game. 2-5. It finished in the end. Wasn't close at any stage, obviously. But Burnley, Burnley's start kind of reminds me a little bit of us last season, our start to the season. And it took a while for us to change our shape and the way we played and go to that really low block. He's persisting with his style of play. It's clearly not working for them so far. But I just want to touch on Spurs. I think they're looking really good. They've started well. Maddison seems to be pulling all the strings in that. And finally, they played Son through the middle. And what does he go and do? He scores a hat-trick.
Yeah. I mean, the manager, obviously, we all had our doubts about him, not because we didn't think he was a good manager, but because we didn't know whether he was a good manager or not.
He was
but
linked
he's
with
certainly
Forest, though,
proving
wasn't
to
he?
have something about him.
He was linked with
And
Forest at one
Spurs are
point, wasn't he?
hell of a lot more attractive to watch now. Maddison is one of the absolute steals of the transfer window. 40 million for Maddison, I think, is a real bargain. And as for Burnley, I said before the season started, I had a lot of people saying Burnley won't struggle. Burnley were fantastic last season. Burnley won that league, won the championship by a mile. Burnley played great football. But if you remember, I don't know if you remember, as I did say, that's the championship. You can play the most wonderful football in the world in the championship. Doesn't necessarily translate. Those players aren't necessarily of the quality to play that kind of football successfully in the Premier League. And it's kind of going that way. And I think the problem that they may have is that I can't see Vincent Kompany changing that philosophy, because that's his philosophy. But if you haven't got the players to play it, then you're in trouble. And I can think that they I rewind that. I think they could be in trouble this season. Well, it's looking that way.
It's looking that way. And I agree with you, because I think he's going to he's not stubborn, but if you listen to what some of his post-match comments that he's made so far this season, it's very much along the line of what you've just said, that he wants to stick to his philosophy. He doesn't want to change that. He understands that he'll have to adapt as the season goes on, and they'll learn as they're going along. But it's a very steep learning curve in the Premier League, as we found out, almost to our cost last season as well. And we spent a hell of a lot of money. We bought a lot of players in. These clubs coming up this season, none of them have done that. None of them have looked at what Forest did and tried to think, okay, maybe there is another way of surviving in the Premier League. So I mean, it seems to me, and I know it sounds like I'm being down on them, or it's like patting them on the head, but it seems like they're just happy to be here. It just seems like they want to get through the season and rebuild again next season with added funds. But it makes it a long, hard season for your fans if that's going to be your mentality going to, because you want to see your team play well, but you don't want to see them getting thrashed week in, week out, do you?
Yeah.
In this league.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about you don't think he's stubborn. I think all managers are stubborn. There's very few managers that will change their philosophies. They may change for a while but slip back into it. But they, if you look at a lot of managers, very few will change their philosophies. They'll go down fighting, as it were. And that's why they get sacked, a lot of them, because they won't change. I mean, we changed ours last season quite early on, and it was quite obvious we had to. And obviously we stayed up by playing very, very negatively. But I don't care. We stayed up last season. I'm not concerned. I can't say I'm concerned for Burnley because I don't give a toss. But if I were a Burnley fan, I'd be a bit concerned that Kompany's going to stick to his plan, and by Christmas they could be in deep shit, and Kompany's job could be on the line. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. And they'll see if they can get Sam Allardyce.
Yeah. He's probably already on the back phone to Sam Allardyce, to be fair. But just go back on Spurs' performance. Again, they're purring a little bit now. It's good to see, to be fair, that there's a team that are actually going for. He's put his philosophy in. He is a manager with a reputation for playing a certain way, and when a manager comes in with that reputation and then actually end up playing that way, and listening to their fans who've been absolutely down in the dumps for the last season, so and rightly so, because the football they played last season was awful. Obviously, where they finished in the table was awful. Looking up and seeing how
I loved
Arsenal.
it.
Yeah, I bet you did. Well, yeah, we'll get on to your boys in a little while. But looking up and seeing how well Arsenal were doing last season as well, kind of giving them any solace that they actually didn't manage to get through at the end. But we'll go on to the Sunday games, and before we get to the Super Sunday game, there was a couple of games earlier on as well. So Liverpool again. I think they look dominant in their game, in their 3-0 victory against Villa. Villa again looked a little blunt, man. They're struggling with their strikers again, because
they're a funny side, Villa, aren't they? I mean, they got slammed 5-1 by Newcastle. They've lost 3-0 to Liverpool. I've said this for a while. Their manager is a cup manager. He's not a league manager. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they won the Europa Cup or wherever they're in. I wouldn't be surprised one bit, but struggle in the league. You know, that's his MO. He's done it all his career.
Has he got the squad to maintain a challenge on both fronts? Because I agree with you. He's a cup manager, and especially in European stages, he's going to focus on that without a doubt. He wants some silverware.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's got a squad to cope with both, but I'll tell you something. If he has to choose, you know, if he's got a Premier League match and a Europa Cup match, he will put his better side out in the Europa Cup. He always has done. That's what got him the sack at Arsenal. At this time of the season, you can't blame the squad size or anything. He's not in any cups at the moment, or you know, I don't know if they're in the League Cup or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? He's not overburdened with matches at the moment, so he's got no excuse to lose right now. So he's playing what he considers is his best side, but they're getting whooped. And that's, if I was a Villa fan, I'd be concerned. I mean, 2 away games, 8 goals conceded. That's not good.
No,
that shouldn't be happening with a team that before the season started were one of the teams that people saying, watch out for Villa this season. So I think
I think we've got major problems in defence, and they've picked up another injury as well in that centre of defence. I really don't like the look of Pau Torres. I think he's been shite so far for them this season. He was
got one of the fantastic reputation.
He has, but he's nice. It was his fault for the first goal. You know, there was no need to concede that corner, and they got a goal. Liverpool got a goal very early on. Darwin Núñez got his first start of the season. Didn't quite make the impact he made against Newcastle the previous week. But can he? Should he be used as a super sub, or can you see him being a starter in that Liverpool squad? Because they've scored goals this season, but he didn't really for me make a positive impact on Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he's in my opinion, I think he's a. I mean, he may change, he may mature, but at the moment, I think he's too chaotic to be a starter. That's why he's so effective when he comes on as a substitute, because he just changes the game. Because you know he's fresh, he's very fast, he runs well over the place. His finishing against Newcastle was sublime, but that's unusual for him.
Yes,
if we're honest. So yeah, I mean, for me at the moment, he's probably better used as an impact sub than a starter. And we know we've known players like that in the past, so it's not unique.
And just a quick point, because we've mentioned this before, and I'll probably just mention it just again because I still think it might happen. With a Saudi transfer league still being open, and they definitely want Mohamed Salah. Could they scupper? Because Liverpool look decent. I don't know if they quite be challenging for the top, but certainly be challenging for the Champions League places, in my opinion. But that could be scuppered if a late bid comes in for Mohamed Salah. He is basically the most well-known Muslim footballer in the world. It would be an absolute coup for any Saudi club to be able to pick him up. Can you see that happening?
Yeah, it'd be their biggest signing. The Saudi league's big over Ronaldo, even over Messi. Had they got him, Salah would be their absolute pinnacle for them.
Yeah, he's a poster boy, isn't he? Can you see it happening? Is my question.
I kind of can, you know, because FSG are not renowned for putting the club before money. So if a massive bid comes in, and also, if I'm honest, I think at 31, I know he's a magnificent player, but at 31, if you get offered a 200 million, I think you've got to take it. Take it. And let's face it, Liverpool's problems are not up front. Liverpool's problems are at the back. So I think they can afford to lose Salah for that kind of money. They can invest that in January or next summer, you know. And I think that a bit like Harry Kane with Tottenham, you lose one magnificent player, but you can make actually the balance of the side. You don't feel the loss as much because you can rebalance the side and have players. Nobody expects anybody to score 30 goals like Salah, but you move the emphasis, don't you?
Yeah, and you can distribute them around the team. But pretty similar to what we've done. You know, we ended up selling one of our best players.
Precisely. That's exactly right.
And hopefully we've done it well. Okay, before we run out of time, go on then. Wax lyrical about that Arsenal Man U game. Finished 3-1. But definitely doesn't tell the story of a tale of a tape, does it? It was very nip and tuck of it towards the end. All the action seemed to happen in the last 5-10 minutes, didn't it?
Let me try and put something straight here. I am far more happier and more excited about Manchester United losing than I'm about Arsenal winning. All right. Okay. Whoever that had been that beat Man United with 2 90-odd minute goals, I would be fucking, absolutely delighted.
Chat, do we believe him?
It wasn't a very good game in actuality. Man United were. No, Man United, it was very strange. Man United were quite happy to do what Forest do. They were quite happy to sit back and pass. It's like that we were talking earlier on about stats, possession in the first half. Man U had more possession, but it was all at the back between the 2 defenders and the goalkeeper. There was nothing going forward.
I think Onana had more touches than
the thing that was strange is that Arsenal weren't as pressy as they normally are. And that's what ruined the game. It needed Arsenal to press them like they normally would. But they showed them far too much respect, in my opinion. But what was funniest of all was towards the end of the game, Manchester United's central defence was Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. Come on. What are you going to win with that? Come on. You know what I mean?
And that's... Yeah, and after that, we conceded a couple of goals. So there's a couple of contentious moments in the match we should talk about. The penalty shouts for both sides. If you look at in comparison, and I'm going to talk about the Arsenal appeal first off, because if you look at just the amount of contact that was made, compare it to Danilo on Rashford for Nottingham Forest previous week, there wasn't that much more contact made, but it wasn't given. What do you? I mean, probably first time.
Yeah, well, bear in mind,
didn't it?
Yeah, bear in mind, I am 100% certain, absolutely certain, that penalty against Forest should not have been given. That was not a penalty in any kind of football except Man United football. That was not a penalty, in my opinion. Okay, and somebody put a fantastic clip on of when Jono got booked when he was fouled exactly the same way, but he got booked for diving, and it's identical. It's a hip touch against the hip. So, with bearing that in mind, Arsenal's wasn't a penalty either. At first I thought Stonewall. And so you can't blame the referee for that because it looked a Stonewall penalty. It looked like he came across and clipped him.
Yeah, and
when I saw VAR, I thought, no, it's not a penalty. So yeah, that's my feeling on the penalty incident. Neither of them were penalties.
So Højlund's one for me. No, didn't feel he dragged him down.
Højlund, I mean, I've got to admit, damn it, I was quite impressed with his physicality. Was immense. A young kid. He's only 20. And those kind of things in the box where when a defender and an attacker are kind of tussling and pushing that, let it go. It's part of football. If you're going to give penalties for that sort of thing, you do it at every corner, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? That's my opinion.
Just to interrupt you for a second. Quick reminder, guys, you'll be seeing Gooner Ant, Forest Ant on the next show as well. So he's got a busy night. But the return of Beat the Drop is in 10 minutes, guys, on the FFTV channel. So please, we'll make sure we finish on time.
I've got a wardrobe change. I'm going to have to go.
You'll put your Arsenal top on, yeah? Right, so yeah, we're going to flip straight over to that. And then, guys, obviously, make sure you're in the chat. Make sure you're liking everything on there. And just to give you the heads up, we're looking to bring that show over to the FFTV Premier League channel. So please jump on, make sure you're subscribed to both channels, which you probably already are to that channel. Make sure you subscribe there, because about 55% of you that are watching that aren't subscribed. So please make sure you do. Yeah, I've been given a countdown. So and talk us through the rest of the game anyway, because it was, like I said, most of the action was towards the last 5-10 minutes of the game. Garnacho looked like he'd won it at one stage.
Oh, that's so funny. You know what? Let me tell you this. You know what? When he put that ball in the net in, I literally put my remote up because I was going to switch it off. So I thought, I can't stand watching Man U celebrate. And for some reason, I thought, mind you, there might be a lot of added time. So I kept on. And then obviously from there, that got disallowed. Quite rightly, he was offside. It's one of them things. He was, an inch offside. I don't like that rule. I prefer to be, if it was the old rule with daylight between the two, I prefer that. I don't like these toenail offsides because, that's not what the offside rule was invented for.
100%
But
agree.
it is what it is. He was offside. And it was so funny. And then when Arsenal went on to get those 2 goals, but I must say, Havertz was dreadful. I mean, I'm not one to jump on bandwagons, but he was poor. And when Vieira came on, last 2 games, he started to look a player.
He's made
now.
an
A lot
impact,
of people have written him off.
He's made an impact both games. I think he's had 2 assists in 2 games, hasn't he?
He's provided an assist in both games. So,
and he's
a lot of fans now are sorry, that just put me off. A lot of fans now are calling for him to start. Certainly over Havertz, anyway. Obviously, Partey was injured. That's a massive loss for them. Notice I said them and not us.
But he did go back to the back four, didn't he? That did well for them last season.
Yeah,
it was a bit more. Yeah, he had to. But like I said, they got through with 2 very late goals. Rice Baby with his take, which was proved to be the winning goal. But Jesus' finish at the end.
Effectively, And mind you, didn't Jesus make it? I mean, Eddie played quite. Eddie and Nketiah played quite well.
I think he played
but
well.
When Jesus came on, the difference was night and day.
Yeah, he looks a lot stronger as well. He looked physically a lot fitter. That was a great,
he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He looked like he's really on it. I mean, if he could add goals to his everything else that he does, he would have been a world class striker by now. But that's the thing that's let him down. But he took his goal so well, didn't he? Obviously, who was the defender that came sliding across? I think he's still sliding now. He sold him, didn't he? Sold him, and that was a beautiful finish into the bottom corner. On the eye test, then, was that a fair? I think the scoreline flattered Arsenal. I don't think it was a 3-1 game. But let's take a bias out of it. Were Man U unlucky not to get something out of that game?
No.
Fair enough, guys. Because we're running out of time, we're not going to spend any more time. I agree with everything Ant said on that. To be honest, I just want to wind them up as we're going along. 5 minutes,
They deserve everything. They deserved everything they got.
Well, and it really put a smile on my face. To be fair, but a couple of things we want to talk about because we've got the poll up. Let me see if I can actually see what the current results are, but I just want to have a quick chat about Jadon Sancho and his statement after what Ten Haag said in his post-match. So basically, post-match conference, Ten Haag said that he's left Jadon Sancho out because he's not trained well, basically, and he didn't feel that he was in good enough condition to be part of a matchday squad. After that, Jadon's hit out in a way and said that it's all lies. You shouldn't believe everything that you hear. What do you say to that? Because I think these players need to understand that the manager of all players, of all people, is allowed to criticize you. How does he think it's okay for him to retaliate to something his manager said in a press conference? Do you agree with what he said, or do you think he should?
First of all, isn't it fun? Secondly, Sancho's out of order, in my opinion. The guy's getting 350 grand a week. I heard today, I don't know how true it is, but he actually employs somebody to wake him up in the morning to get him to training. I mean, come on.
Are you joking?
Grow up, lad.
Are you joking?
Grow up. You know what I mean?
Is that true?
His reaction should have been, could have been something like, I'm disappointed that the manager felt not trained this week, so I'm going to try even harder next week to make sure it doesn't happen again. That, and everybody would have loved him for that. He said, good man.
Yeah.
But they're too stuck up their own arses, aren't they? They're too self-important.
Absolutely. Or better still, don't say anything. But is this trying to be player power again? Because there's no doubt the last few Man United managers
It's because they're babies. They've not matured.
The last few Man United managers have definitely been, in my opinion, pushed out because of player power.
Yeah.
And he's another one.
£350,000 a week, and he's done fuck all since he's been there.
I can't actually see the poll for.
It's
what
got no comeback whatsoever. It's been useless on
And quick
350
one.
grand a week.
And can you see the poll results on your YouTube?
No, it's gone. It's gone on
Is
to
it gone?
please subscribe.
Okay, right. Guys, just quickly then in the chat, who's your vote for Wanker of the Week? So your
I think
nominee
it was pretty much TEN Haag, to be honest.
was it TEN Haag?
TEN Haag.
So Jadon Sancho,
That's
Todd
who I
Boehly, or
voted
TEN
for.
Haag? We're going with TEN Haag. We'll go with TEN Haag because he's got the Scooby Doo Wanker of the Week. Just to go because I spend a little bit of time doing these. I just want to show you guys anyway. Todd Boehly would have been the billionaire Wanker of the Week, and Jadon Sancho would have been
I like that one actually. Although I voted for TEN Haag, I like
we'll go with the Scooby Doo Wanker of the Week. It was just great to see VAR working against them for a change and see what it's like with a boot on the other foot. But guys, we are almost at the end of the show. We've got Dino as a winner. Dino, you're always a winner. We just don't put you in the vote every week. But guys, thank you for joining us. It is a quick show because I want to make sure that I don't burn this man out for his debut on the return, the reboot of Beat the Drop, and can't wait, guys. Everybody's on there. Everybody who you want on there should be on there. So make sure you're in the chat. Make sure you give the guys your love and abuse. Make sure you give Jace plenty. We'll let him talk, but make sure you guys abuse him in the chat. But everyone who's taken part today as well, thank you so much. Thank you for Dino in the back bringing the chat up. Really appreciate that. So we won't do this next week because there's no Premier League games, obviously. So we'll be back on in a couple of weeks on a Tuesday. So it'll be after the Nottingham Forest game because we play Monday night football, don't we? We got Burnley on a Monday night when Premier League kicks back off. Enjoy the rest of the evening, guys. Make sure you do flip over to. We'll give you a minute before it goes over, but make sure you're on main FFTV.
Yeah, I've only got a fucking minute. We're up with the wrap up.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys for everybody who's taken part. Like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hope to see you again in next week. We've got the FPL stream later on in the week, so see you guys soon and enjoy the show. Good luck with the next show.
Cheers, dude. See you later, guys.